Taurus, hello. Welcome to Coffee, Sage, and Tarot. We did it. Happy New Year. It's been a long road to get here, for sure. But we're here. We made it. We did it. I could go on and just keep giving you props and everybody props, and it was an interesting year, to say the least. But now we are looking forward. So for the January monthly, I actually am deciding to do just an overall overview for 2026. So we're going to take a look at your energy, your overall energy for the year, what you should be leaving behind, the major challenge that this year holds for you, as well as how to overcome it, and then anything else that Spirit would like you to know. Alrighty. First, we're just going to start with your energy in the new year. Show me Taurus, please. All right. Four of Wands. That's lovely. I believe Aries got that energy as well. And the Two of Pentacles in the shadow here. So yeah, definitely focusing on the home, focusing on what matters here. For some of you, maybe even getting back to basics. For others of you, kind of weeding out the fluff, right? And celebrating your priorities, understanding what your priorities are with that Two of Pentacles and that Eight of Swords. Perhaps what's limiting you, right? Or what you feel is keeping you from this. Okay, take that as it resonates, but really just focusing on what matters here. Let's go ahead and see what we need to see. Interesting. Okay. All right. What we're leaving behind here, Taurus, Emperor. So could be that masculine energy, or this idea that we need to assert our control in every aspect, right? Instead of focusing on what matters here. We will explore that, but that is the father of the tarot, right? So he sets the rules by which society lives. And so perhaps you're relaxing around a role or moving out of one role. And you need to leave that behind. The overall challenge for you as we head into 2026, Queen of Wands. Could mean a few different things. How you show up in society is kind of what I'm getting here, especially just in relation to that Emperor energy. Perhaps you're being perceived as one way when your intention is really the other. Or perhaps, like I'm wondering if perception is something. How others view you versus your actual intent. Or that you just want to change how you're maneuvering here, or it's challenging to maneuver. We will explore that, of course. There is this idea as well about embracing that feminine energy, right? We're leaving behind the very masculine, kind of brute emperor. And the challenge is how to perhaps maybe get what you want through a different approach. But of course, we will clarify that. The Nine of Swords, speaking on how we can overcome this. This definitely feels like doing something that's out of your comfort zone. And something that you're kind of like, oh my God, I'd never do that. And perhaps maybe doing that. But we'll see. Need to know. Some major loops are closing for you, Taurus, as we head into 2026 here. I'm just taking a look at your shadow. Yeah. So that's that Ace of Swords, which started off back here, is now coming closer. So I wonder if we will not see that as we clarify the board here for you. So I'm feeling like timing for something here. There you are. Could be you're getting ready for something, or energetically you're getting primed for something here. Some sort of change, right, as it relates to that World card. Star, you doing what's important, doing what you feel is right. And perhaps you need to change how you're showing up in society, because either something related to your star is, it's either the focal point, or your star has changed, or it's become, you know, more apparent here. Something's clicked, it feels. Let's go ahead and get some clarifiers on that Emperor energy. Okay, so that Emperor is clarified. Just want to make sure you can see it. You can. Queen of Pentacles, 8 of Pentacles in the reverse, and the 8 of Swords. I wonder if you feel stuck. Yeah, there's that Ace of Swords again. Some new perspective here. You want to start something new. You want to do something new. You want to move on, it feels like. Stuck or stunted is what I'm feeling here in whatever this particular role here. Perhaps you feel like you can't move from that control position, because if you're not in that position, who else will be? Like, if I'm not doing this, who else? Nobody else is going to do it, kind of idea. So you feel stuck in that. And you don't want to be anymore. I feel like there's, yeah... I feel like this year, or maybe you've already done so, Taurus, you can let me know in the comments. As we head into 2026, you're just kind of over it. Where you're currently situated here is not, I mean, it's not where you want to be. You know that. It could be a place where you're like, there's a security that's there, but it's definitely not a place that is doing you any favors, right, mentally. And it feels like you're getting to a point where you're trying to make something happen here, and it feels like there's a new, you're moving closer towards kind of moving away from this. And it feels like there's a new perspective, or a new learned, or something like a new idea that's coming, or perhaps it's been formulating for some time, and it's getting closer and closer and closer, the realization that this is possible. That's kind of what I'm seeing. Maybe the thought has been building, and you've been toying with it, and you know, maybe a couple months ago it started off as just like this little one-off. And we're getting closer to it actually being like, oh, okay, maybe I could actually do this kind of idea, right? But what we're leaving behind just feels uncomfortable. You feel stifled. You've reached your potential there. And now it's kind of, it's not doing you any favors anymore. But again, it's this idea of, if you don't do it, who else will? Someone else. And if they don't do it, what is that going to mean for you, right? How is that going to affect you? Can you afford to change this? It feels like there's something coming that's going to allow this to be an easier thing to release for you, Taurus, okay? So for that Queen of Wands energy, in terms of the overall challenge, for this year, we do have that Devil energy, the World, and the Queen of Swords. And I'm just taking a look at the shadow here for that. Tens, yeah, change. something new. So yeah, starting something new. I keep seeing that here. So I saw it in the Pentacles. I saw it in the Cups, and obviously with that Ace of Swords here. The challenge, right? Fulfillment, self-fulfillment. Doing what you want to do because it makes you happy, not because you feel compelled to. Challenge 2026. That Queen of Wands here, Devil of the World, Queen of Swords. So, yeah. This feels like this. How perhaps a role or something that was once felt good, again, it doesn't feel that way. It feels distorted. And perhaps for some of you, there's this addiction to, like, we could be addicted to the chaos. We could be addicted to the drama. We could be addicted to being needed or being wanted in this way, even though it is, stifling or suffocating, or we feel limited, right? It's, trauma bonded, these types of things, right? And so it feels like there's this wisdom with this Ace of Swords that wants to come through and change your perspective on this idea of taking the leadership in the way that you're presenting to me. And it could be in a dynamic, it could be in different dynamics. So for example, how you take up and exert control in your life, right? It could be, a pattern of kind of taking over, right? Because again, who else is going to do it as good as you? Or if you don't do it, who else is going to do it? Well, that doesn't mean that you have to take that on, right? So again, as it speaks to your dynamic here, it feels like just this idea, again, with that Four of Wands energy, just really focusing on what matters, what's important. And it feels like there's something about either this specific dynamic or the pattern of taking control that is on its way out. And that feels like a very hard lesson. To be clear, Taurus, you're not the only one that I'm getting these hard truths for. 2026 feels like, or I should back up, 2025 feels like it tested our patience in so many ways, just to keep kind of testing them in 2026. But because we have gone through all we've gone through in 2025, it feels like we're like battle hardened in a way. Our skin is thicker. We've learned some hard truths. We've established we've learned a little bit from what 2025 had in store for us. And so it feels like we're ready for this kind of deep exploration of part of our identity. And so that's what I'm seeing here. And so it does feel like there's this aspect of examining the shadow, Taurus, of what it is that we're trying to change, right? Like something fundamental about you here. And it feels like it's a challenge. But again, it's kind of coming closer and closer in your brain of this is not working. How I do this is not working. I want to feel this way, but I keep getting stuck in this loop. And so it's, how can we finally put this to an end? And it feels like you have to change. For some of you, you have to change your energy, right? And that's not easy. You have to change your frequency, and that's not easy. And where once we might, or where currently we get stuck in that loop of leadership, or stuck in that loop of getting frustrated and then just jumping right in and doing it ourselves. we have to learn to feel that frustration and be comfortable in it, or at least be comfortable enough to not have that be a reason to pick something up that is not part of our story or part of what really matters to us, right? And so that's kind of the vibe that I'm getting for this here, and just really change in a fundamental way. With that Hermit in reverse in the shadow, it really speaks on change and transformation in a way that you are not familiar with. We want to change some aspect of, how we live our life, which means we can't rely on the knowledge and the foundation that got us here, right? Let's go ahead and explore that Nine of Swords. They're jumping, but they're not popping out. There we go. Yeah. Okay. Oh. So that's quite interesting here. And there, see? So again, it's now coming closer, that 10, 10, Hermit in reverse, and the Ace of Pentacles. There's a new, again, this element of newness, right? Ace of Pentacles, that's your sign. This idea of almost like a rebirth in 2026 for you, a new era of Taurus coming through. But first we have to weed out this major loop that's trying to close. And it really does feel like we need to relax around where you're taking on so much. Coming into this Nine of Swords here, we have that Three of Swords in reverse. We have that Chariot in reverse and the Two of Pentacles right side up. It's interesting because, again, this really feels like it speaks on all the ways that you're almost like almost on autopilot of this happens and I'm going to do this, or almost like an immediate reaction, like an impulse reaction. You don't even need to think about it. Like when the phone rings, we pick it up, right? Or maybe that's not just your good one anymore. Who answers their phone? When we see something spilling, we go to catch it, right? That's a good analogy here. And so it's almost like that's what you're trained to do because you've been doing that for so long. Hermit energy, we've relied on that, right? And that's gotten us to where we are now. But maybe whatever is spilling is harmful to you, and you realize that it's harmful to you. And so the act of going without anything, just with a bare hand extending, right? That's harmful now. And so we have to resist that urge. We have to resist the temptation to dive in or to do what comes natural to us, right? And so that's kind of what I'm seeing here, is this idea of, that Nine of Swords energy. How do we overcome this? Well, by doing something that doesn't come natural and feeling all the feels and thinking everything that comes with that. Well, why am I not doing that? Well, I'm not good enough. Well, I'm not experienced enough. Well, this is my job. This is how I identify, right? All of these kind of things. Well, who am I if I'm not the person that cleans up the mess? So all of those thoughts kind of shooting at you, right? Because you're not extending your arm. You're not doing that. So not only do you have that on the one hand, but then on the other hand, you have, but I don't want to do that anymore. I don't want to be that person that extends that hand. I'm already calloused. My hands hurt. I'm sore because this is what I keep doing, extending myself, and I don't have anything left to extend. And so there's two sides to that, right? With that Two of Pentacles here, and it feels very much like a juggling act. So it doesn't, I want to be honest with you, Taurus, it doesn't feel like it's 2026 is, it feels, the lesson here, then the challenge feels serious because it's, two very equal sides of a coin here, that it feels like you're going to have to really be mindful of. and think about, right? So on one side, releasing this idea of I was not solely made for this purpose, and also coming to terms with maybe not knowing what your purpose is, but knowing that it's not that, right? So again, kind of keeping in both sides of that coin here to understand that something needs to end. We need to end whatever this kind of dynamic is, whatever this kind of impulse is, right? We need to break that down. We need to stop that, right? With the Chariot, it's like we are driving ourselves forward, but to what extent? It's hurting. You're in pain, right? It's not working for you anymore, at least in the way that it did before. We don't feel as good. It doesn't give us what it used to, right? Maybe it never gave us anything. Maybe it was just how we, received value or received worth or determined our worth or determined our identity, right? And now we're in a place where we can kind of take a minute and say, hey, this is not what I thought it was, in some way, shape, or form. And now we're pained because we don't want to do it, and pained because we're upset that we've been doing it all along. Like, it's just there's a lot to unpack there. And so it does feel like a true weighted challenge for you, Taurus, as we head into 2026. Tell me about that world energy. Too many. I'm going to take them all away. Too many. Thank you. Show me that world energy, please. Okay. All right, so there's that Emperor in reverse, right? And then again, just looking at the Sun. Yeah, that Three of Pentacles, something new again. Yeah, see, balance, right? That's what we're seeking. Lovers, Pentacles, Temperance. Yeah. Just lighter, more in control. Not the idea that you have to be in control, but because you want to be. The Sun coming up, right? So again, this could be shadow work here, diving into that, right? Having this understanding of doing that work and exploring those hidden parts here. Perhaps with that Ace of Swords energy, right? And I'm surprised it's not coming through in your clarifiers. I'm wondering if it's something that is not, you have there's like an inkling of it, but you haven't fully formulated it, right? Like I said. And so it's not presenting because you haven't felt it yet. Like you haven't clarified what that really looks like, right? And perhaps it's just a feeling right now and you don't have the words for it, right? It's interesting, and we'll see how that unfolds. But there is a clarity, right? And the Sun speaks on that clarity, that I'm wondering if when the Sun comes and that clarity that's kind of itching gets a little bit closer, will we see that Ace of Swords, that new perspective come out for you? But speaking on the world here, in terms of what you need to know, Taurus, we have that 10 of Swords in reverse, 2 of Swords, and the Emperor in reverse. So again, like very much a mental game. And I feel, if I remember correctly, Aries might have been a mental game as well for 2026. Changing how you're thinking, right? And again, with that Hermit energy that was in the shadow reversed, You cannot rely on the wisdom and the knowledge that has got you here. We have to seek new. We have to think new, change our brain. Yeah, and this feels again like that push and pull, the resistance to change, but also the willingness or the almost longing for change. I wish things were different. But then when things start to become different, well, what's happening? Why is this changing? I don't like this, right? And that's, change is hard. We take comfort in knowing, our brain takes comfort in predictability, and this is predictable for you, even if it's chaos, right? The idea of stepping in and catching that leak, catching whatever's falling, spilling, that's a predictable reaction, even if what we're catching isn't predictable. So changing that, the idea of what are we going to do if we don't extend our hand automatically, is scary, right? Is how do we reframe that in our brain? Well, we have to start not extending our hand and see what finds out, or see what happens, right? And so that's what I'm seeing, is this idea of I don't want to change, but I don't want to be like this anymore either. I don't want to be this person anymore either. And so how do we find that ending? And it feels like this will be a very much recurring pattern for you as we head into the new year. A juggling act for sure. But in the star and that Ace of Swords here, it's like what you want, but it's taking that and actually translating it into your life. Interesting. Let's go ahead. 7 of Wands in the reverse. Interesting. See, she's built a bridge. Yeah, it just feels like we don't want to go how we've been going. We don't want to continue down that path. 6 of Swords in reverse. Yeah, it's not. I'm laughing because typically 6 of Wands right up is like, okay, we're into cooler, calmer waters here. But that showed up right in reverse. And it's kind of like, yeah, I just feel, Taurus, like, it's not going to get really any easier, I feel, for you as we head into 2026. The mental challenge is going to be tough because you are trying to create such a change for yourself. 10 of Wands, again, speaking on that ending, right? Overexerting ourselves, taking on too much. How do we get back to, or you have this idea in mind of, bare bones. I'm seeing minimalism, and currently you're maximism, or however you say it. You know what I mean? Ace of Pentacles. A new version of you. Empress, being soft, being tender, being gentle, the mother of the tarot, right? And perhaps it even is switching from that masculine energy to that feminine, right? Which isn't easy, right? Especially if you've been so take control, and exert that control. And especially if you've been in a power position where you are the person that is quite literally making the rules for, the place at which you are in charge. It's hard to change how you lead. It's hard to change that persona, right? Quite literally, the Empress here could speak on childbirth, fertility, these types of things. So it could even be that is entering the picture. And so how are we changing with this type of change, right? But again, it's this idea of like, go so hard, but the Empress is intentional. She's intentional about enjoying where she's at. She's intentional about being grateful. She's intentional about, how she gives her love and where she gives. She's present, right? She literally stops and smells the roses. And the Emperor, like, he builds his throne. He builds his throne on him, right? He's got no time for roses. He's got a society to lead. 9 of Swords in reverse. Yeah, we want to be done with that energy. 2 of Swords in reverse. Yeah, and again, it feels like that's your ideal, right? We're getting closer to that Ace of Swords energy. How do we make this happen? What do we see? What do we envision? 4 of Swords. Yeah, it's all these, like, we're not checking out. We're not stepping out on life. We're not, living on autopilot here. We're not doing that. We have to be intentional. Anything else here for Taurus? Ten of Cups, happiness, self-fulfillment, right? Enjoyment, happy family. The Devil. How is that stopping that enjoyment? Wheel of Fortune, now's the time. The Moon, shadow work for sure. For sure. Yeah, it's like almost like, and that has a 2 of Swords energy as well, right? This idea of we're being blindfolded. We're just going along with it, right? He's so well established, or this behavior is so well established that it's the hardest pattern to change. Dragons, slay them all, for sure. Start one by one. Shark, swim away from this situation. Yeah, it feels like there's this, and again, it's like you can't fully articulate it, but there's something wrong. And you're getting closer to figuring that out. And I'm so curious to see how that will shape this year for you. But it feels like you know that you can't continue the way that you have been. Throne, your potential is endless. Witch, justice is coming. You can manifest your every wish. Castle, it's time for healing, not war. Yeah, who are we fighting? Universe, we're all just stardust. Yeah. And you have that potential within you, right? And this is the hands, almost the hands of an ace, right? And it's almost like we have to swim a little bit through the mud to see it. I freely express who I am. It is my birthright to express myself in ways that are fulfilling to me. Yeah. And maybe that's it. Maybe you got stuck in some sort of position here that you felt you couldn't express yourself. And now you're in a position to do that, but you don't know how. And this isn't it, but you might not know how you want to express yourself. And so you have to learn that. As I learn to love myself, I become powerful. I do not need to wait until I become perfect before I love myself. Loving myself is the quickest way to create a wonderful life. Yeah. Yeah, it does feel like this has to do very much with how your identity, how you express yourself, who you think you are, who you want to be, right? Interesting. Yeah, so some major elements here at play. And I really do look forward to seeing how this transpires for you in 2026. Taurus, I'm wishing you all the best, and you take care, okay? Happy New Year. We'll see you next time.